Hello students, today's topic is from Unit 4. We are talking about Victorian age and in particular about Victorian poetry. The Victorian age covers the events in the age of Queen Victoria's reign from 1837 to 1901. It was an era of social unrest, economic turmoil, and political fermentation, witnessing some of the major events of human history like Industrial Revolution, French Revolution, and various social reforms during this age. Two factors profoundly affected the literature of this age: the germinations of seeds of democratic ideals and the emergence of scientific outlook. The publication of Darwin's canonical text infected the poetry with a spirit of scientific observation and philosophical analysis. The scientific outlook changed the mental makeup of people of this age, and it became trendy to show a spirit of inquisitiveness and to express doubts. There was a rise in conflict between religion and science and between blind faith and the spirit of inquiry. The loss of religious confidence in the Victorian period The loss of religious confidence in the Victorian period goes hand in hand with the other striking changes. This is, for example, the period of massive social reform, of the increasing industrialization of towns and cities, and of a worldwide expansion of trade as Britain built an empire. But it is also a period of intellectual change. In 59, Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species appeared. Its theory about the evolution of the human species ran entirely counter to established religious belief. The world was no longer, it seemed, governed by divine providence but by science. In 48, Karl Marx published the Communist Manifesto, and then in 67, his work on social and economic class struggle, Das Kapital. Finally, in the late Victorian period comes Sigmund Freud's work on psychoanalysis, examining the way in which the human psyche operates. In place of the old certainties about the way in which human life fits into the pattern of existence, there are new disturbing ideas about human beings and the darker hidden aspects of their social and psychological selves. The evolutionary theories of Darwin and Herbert Spencer completely revolutionized the contemporary views about man and society. Faith in the biblical view of creation was shaken and was replaced by the Darwinian theory of evolution through struggle for existence. Although it was a great age of Victorian novel, because the whole complexity can be imbibed only by the great expansion of the novel, but still, poetry also reflects the various changes of these ideas. And the major poets of this period are Alfred Tennyson, Robert Browning, about whose poetry we have, Tennyson and Browning's poems we have done. Next poet is Matthew Arnold, Mrs. Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and George Meredith. These are the major poets of the Victorian period who reflect the various trends of this age. All the characteristics which you can see in this slide can be seen in the poetry of the major poets, and these are the you can have a look over this. These are the chief characteristics of the poetry of this age. We have to talk about here about the fleshly school of poetry, the pre-Raphaelite movement, which started in 1848. and its main poets are D.G. Rossetti, William Morris, and Swinburne. We have to talk about the fleshly school. We have to talk about the fleshly school of poetry, the pre-Raphaelite movement, and the poets. The pre-Raphaelite poets drew their inspiration from the works of Italian painters before Raphael. It was in 1848 that a pre-Raphaelite brotherhood was formed in England by three painters including Dante, Rossetti, and Gabriel. These young artists aimed at a return to older principles in painting, but as Rossetti and many of his followers were gifted writers, their work gave rise to a literary movement which advocated a close study of nature and a revival of the spirit and methods of the early Italian masters. But as the movement progressed, it developed a literary manner of its own, which, though not strictly pre Raphaelite in character, is still given that name for want of a better one. Among the notable poets of this school are D.G. Rossetti, William Morris, and Swinburne. These are the characteristics of these pre Raphaelite poets' poetry: art for art's sake, medieval note, word painting, music, and melody. English literature entered upon a phase of greater realism and materialism with the end of Victorian age and the beginning of the 20th century. 20th century poetry, modern poetry, we will do in the next session. For the time being, thanks. Have a great time.